Why don't we go right to it? It is finally over. I think. Probably. Yeah, I don't mean the Broncos coaching search, which finally ended, or the Texans coaching search, which not a whole lot of people really cared about anyway. That's over. Those things are definitely over. However, they both got badly upstaged this morning because this morning, Tom Brady finally figured out what the bleep he was going to do. Because this morning, Bacon45 announced his retirement via a 53-second video, which he tweeted from the beach. And yes, he actually used the word retire this time. There is no more geriatric goat. There will be no Bacon46. And it actually does feel real this time. He even says retiring, quote, for good. As in, this is not a bit like last year. This one is for life. For life. Now, I think certainly it's natural to be skeptical. It's been exactly 365 days since he last, quote, retired. But a lot has gone down in the 365 days since he last retired. I mean, he finally had a physical drop-off this year. He finally had a season under 500 this year. He got humiliated in the playoffs. He got divorced. He got caught up in a catastrophic crypto scheme. And he lost half his face. All of which is why this announcement feels a little bit different. In fact, quite a bit different from the one exactly 1 year ago today. Now, what I'm not buying is that he just woke up this morning and thought, you know what, today's a good day for it. Think I'll just take a little stroll down the beach, break out the phone, turn it around and like, whoa, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Today is the day. I'm going to hit record. You know, like he was just watching the waves roll in, hearing them crash against the shore, seeing the sun peek through the clouds, smelling the salty breeze, and it finally did hit him. Hey, man, I am washed. So then he plopped down in the sand and recorded a spontaneous video and then just hit send. Yeah, that. That along with a carefully curated 50-photo Instagram story with highlights from his career. But, you know, it was all just so spontaneous. He just woke up this morning and thought, today's the day. Probably not how that went down. But the thought process here is pretty interesting, right? Just yesterday, we were talking about Frisco being a potential perfect landing spot for him. A potentially perfect opportunity for one last ride. Hate to break it to you, Frisco fan.
Hey, Frisco fan.
Frisco fan, somehow now you're down to yet another option at quarterback, or you thought you were. But it's not going to be all bacon face to save the day, brah. He's not available. Then again, who knows if that Frisco door was even open to begin with? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't, and since Miami is not a possibility either, apparently, maybe he didn't see any situation worth grinding out another season for. Or maybe, and again, it's all speculation. I'm just trying to figure it out myself. Maybe it didn't matter how good any situation was. There was no situation better this time. Call me crazy. No football situation better this time. No football family better this time than his actual family. In other words, maybe he finally did choose family over football. You know, the very thing that he said he was going to do a year ago, only to change his mind 40 days later and then watch his marriage go up in flames. 40. Maybe he really is picking family or what's left of his family over football. Or I don't know, maybe he finally just lost the will to prepare. Maybe he just can't be all in, all day, every day, no days off anymore. Maybe he got sick of avocado ice cream being his cheat meal. Maybe he wanted to finally mix in a strawberry or a tomato. I don't know, I'll say this, whatever it is. It's pretty hard to fathom and pretty hard to imagine an NFL without this cat. 23 seasons is ludicrous. I mean, this dude is as much a part of the fabric of the game right now as yardsticks and pylons and yellow flags. When his career started, games were televised in standard def. Teams were still playing on AstroTurf. Field turf wasn't even a thing yet. And the entire sport has evolved and expanded and exploded since he broke in. And yes, he obviously had a huge part in all that. So there's no way around it. Not having Bacon 46 next year is going to be a pretty weird thing. It's going to be a really different thing. It's hard to imagine watching that game and that sport without this guy in it. But again, I have to say, it does feel legit this time. Because there's no way this guy would have picked football over family last year if he had any idea how crappy a season he was going to have. So why risk having another crappy season, dinging your legacy even further, and more importantly, potentially taking a wrecking ball to what's left of your family? I could see whereby he would not want to do that. So the announcement was cheesy. It was contrived, but I actually do believe it. I believe that he believed what he was saying. So I'm not here to bag on him. I'm not here to bag on him for rolling down to the beach and turning his phone around on himself. That's fine. That's fine. I get it. I believe him. It's fine. I mean, in a way, it could have been even better. It could have been better,
That's fine.
For instance, if he made that announcement, and again, his announcement, he should be able to do it any way he wants, even though he made the same announcement last year and took it back 40 days later. But it is his announcement. Make it any way you want. But personally, I think the announcement would have been even better if he were bumping Footloose underneath it. What's next? What now? I would imagine it's much easier to retire when you know what you're retiring to, namely an incredible broadcast job that's going to pay him a reported $37.5 million per. Or will it? Like, I don't know if Tom Brady has been paying attention or not, but the guy who's sitting in that chair right now is already a broadcast star. Greg Olsen. Already a broadcast star. Not pretty good at it, not pretty interesting, already a broadcast star. In fact, maybe that's another reason why Bacon 45 decided to shut it down and go home right now. Because if you give Olsen another full year in that seat, there's no way Brady gets that gig. The gig that he thinks that he was promised. Like, I don't know what kind of contract they have. I don't know whether or not they can get out of that contract. But there is no way Olsen does that for another year and then Brady steps right in and takes that gig. Because I can promise you this. Even with work, and even as meticulous and obsessed as Brady is with work and prep, I'm here to tell you, he will never, ever be as good of a broadcaster as Greg Olsen already is. I don't care how much time you give him. He will never be that good. Like, what happens if Brady's next call to Fox is, hey, yo, I don't know if you saw it, but I retired on the beach. So I'm ready to go. What should I be doing to get ready for the broadcast gig? I am ready to get it. Let's go! Let's go today! And what if Fox says, yeah, about that, Tom. We're ripping our offer. Olsen is our dude. He's already arguably the best in the business. And then Brady hangs up the phone, and the next call he makes is to Kyle Shanahan. And then the Lobster Jr. says, please hold. And then he calls Josh McDaniels. Just kidding. Sort of. Not really. Hey, I'm telling you, Fox, they best not think about ripping Olsen from the Super Bowl broadcast booth and putting Brady in there. That would be disastrous. Nearly as disastrous as an idea is that 80 for Brady movie. Brady had to be like, man, I know I'm old. I can even get to a point where I admit I'm washed. But am I really this old and this washed? Is this really my demographic? Great-great-grandmas. I always say that no one ever gets to go out on their own terms. And it's better to go out a little too early than to stay a little too long. And Brady may have stayed a little bit too long. But at least he's going to stop the bleeding right now before he has any more sub-500 seasons and they make any more movies about 90-year-olds thirsting for him. If you really are retiring and it really is to be with your family and you're not coming back in 40 more days, and when Fox tells you you've already been replaced, good job, good effort, Bake, well done. Listen. Fact of the matter is, nobody has ever gotten more out of what they had to work with and had a more decorated career than you did, Bake. You deserve all of our respect. You deserve all of our admiration. And if this really is retirement, good for you. But this time, stay retired.